here inside the accommodations building where you can check in, check that out. There's a picture of the old railroad, and below that it still talks about riding the genuine steam train. This is gonna be awesome. Hi everybody, and welcome to the world of Micah. Today we are here at Disney's Fort Wilderness Campgrounds, where I'm gonna be embarking on a time traveling adventure. We're gonna be traveling back to the year 1974, where back in the 70s there was a railroad that existed here on property, and you could ride a genuine steam train around the property. Now it no longer exists. As of 1980, they completely got rid of it, and it was left abandoned here for several years. But today, my friends, myself, JT from Retro WDW podcast, and Art from the Fort Wilderness podcast are going to be traveling around Disney's Fort Wilderness and finding some of the spots where this genuine steam train once existed. You guys are going to get to tag along. It's going to be a ton of fun. Let's do this, my friends, and let's take a closer look. Let's take a closer look. So right over here is the bus stop, where if you get on the bus, it'll take you to different locations of Fort Wilderness Campground, including the settlement. But right over here is where a shack used to stand, and I believe this is where the building of the shack was, because you have the water pump right here, and you can see the remains from where some water mechanisms would have been to give water to the trains. And then looking at this photograph to the right, you can see where the top used to say Gateway. Now it's just a regular bus stop. So I'm thinking right there was the shack, and then in front of it you can see the train and that huge water tower putting the water to fuel the steam train. But right there is the shack, and then right here is where the Gateway station is, which means the train would have come this way. I went straight across, and that's where it would have crossed the main road. So is this where that shack was, and the water tower would have been right there? We're thinking this is the spot. And we just got confirmation that we are able to come over here to pick up our golf cart. And I've actually never gotten to rent a golf cart here at Fort Wilderness. This is gonna be incredible. And also, when I was in there talking to the receptionist about renting the golf cart, her name is Shannon, I believe she's a Disney manager here at Fort Wilderness, she brought out an original 1978 map of Fort Wilderness, and it had the railroad track still on it. Obviously 1978, didn't close till 1980, but she let me hold it and take a picture for you guys. So if you want to see this photo of this map, go over to my Instagram page, because I posted it on there, Instagram World of Micah, and you guys can see the photograph of the map that she let me hold and take a picture of. Super, super awesome of her. Thank you so much, Shannon. So we've got Art here, JT. You guys want to say hello too?
Yep, I'm Reese. I'm Riley.
We got the whole gang in a golf cart, and we're ready to go. Can this maybe get up to 88? Because I think that's what you have to do to go back in time, right?
I think so. We can try.
We'll try. Now right here, you can see in this photograph is where the train would be pulling up to the Meadow Trading Post. Like legitimately, the train would be going right where that gentleman was just walking. Now it's a sidewalk, but that at one point were train tracks. The building has not changed pretty much at all. It's still the shape, and everything's pretty much exactly where it's supposed to be. Now where the Meadow Trading Post sign is, they've added a little V, upside down V entrance. But right here, the pathway has changed a good deal. But you can still see where the original path was at one point. Looking at this photograph right here, I'm going to show you guys exactly what that looks like nowadays and try and explain this the best I can. I'm going to put the photograph on the video right now and pay attention to the walkway path. Now where that lady is in the photograph, she would have been standing somewhere around here.
She's holding the baby?
Yes, when she's holding the baby. Now, if you look at this, I was just showing JT, Art, this still has that diamond-shaped loop right here in front of the building if you look, because of where the ground is.
Yeah.
And it went right there, and right over here where JT was standing. Those trees can be seen in the photograph, as well as the one right behind JT. So crazy. Now where JT is walking, he could have been walking straight up on a pathway. That wouldn't have been grass, that would have been the path. And right where he's standing is like the first coach of the train. And the front of the train would have been directly to the left of him. How cool is that? So the area right here in the grass is still in the shape. If you come over here and look where the grass and the pine straw separates, it's still here after all these years. And right over here to the left of the Meadow Trading Post is where there used to be a topiary. I believe it was of a cow or a bull. Right here where that tree is, you can see in this photograph, that's exactly in the area of where it was. And the reason I know is because in the far distance where that cow is where the train tracks were. And get this, if you walk over here along the embankment, it still goes down just like it would when the train tracks were here. So legit, train tracks were right here. And if you guys can see, it's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it does dip down on both sides. This is where the train tracks were, and they would continue going straight ahead. And I found something really neat over here, but also none of this was here. It's where this little lake area was, the barn where you rent the bikes, and even the swimming hole. None of this was here back when this photograph and this video that I found of Art and Linda from Retro WDW existed. Now right up here, is this some of the original ground, like dirt, from when the railroad tracks would be here? I was looking for railroad ties, but I don't see anything in here except for a lot of spider webs. As you can see, it goes up and then goes back down. So right here is where the railroad will be coming, and where those people are standing, they would be standing on railroad ties. Like they would be standing on the actual track itself. And also, this is like where the railroad track would go, right over here in front of the trading post. And where JT's walking, you can see it's completely embanked up here. So this has got to be where it came. I mean, why else would it be embanked like this? Now there are some drains right over here, a little ditch and a little drainage system here, but this is about the size that the train would have been, the little train tracks. So yeah, it's pretty neat. Well, that does it for the first location. Now JT and Art and I are gonna hop in the golf cart and head over to the other side of where I was showing you guys where the train tracks would lead into. Now it has been completely taken over by a campsite, but we're gonna see if there's anything over there, any ties, any remnants of this. Are you guys hot yet?
Yes, we got some clouds.
We have some cloud coverage, yeah. So this is literally on the other side of where I was just showing you guys where the Meadow Trading Post railroad ties would be. As you can see, the ground is still kind of embanked up. It gets pushed up for railroad ties, and then the railroad would literally be coming right here where JT's standing, and it would continue going straight down past our golf cart, and eventually it would take a left according to the map that I found online. But this is where the railroad would go. Now obviously this is a campsite right here. Now you can camp here, but the railroad would be coming straight through this area at one point. Or JT's theory, which one do you guys think is correct? I'm kind of going with JT's theory here. The railroad would go straight and then come through here, because we're looking at the road and the road kind of curves this way. At some point, the railroad tracks did cross the main road over here heading towards the settlement. And looking at maps, they're not obviously up to scale, so you kind of have to just troubleshoot on some of these things. And looking on the ground, we're not finding any railroad ties or any tracks around in this area, not yet. So we're currently crossing over towards Cinnamon Fern Way, where we found the former home of some of the tracks, where that railroad would cross over the main road here. So it would leave the Meadow Trading Post, go all the way through where this campsite is. It would cross the street right here. And check this out, you guys. It's old railroad track right here. JT's actually standing on some of the posts that are still left in the ground. Look at that. Can you guys see this wood? So the railroad tracks will be on either side. Oh wow. Yeah, the holes are still there where they would put the metal railing for the railroad. Look at that. Dude. So yeah, I mean, it did go by, if this was still here, which looking at the map, Cinnamon Fern Way was, I mean, we are just, he is the train right now. Oh my gosh. This is so cool, you guys. Disney history right here. And you can actually stay right there and have the train tracks in your backyard. That's where I want to stay. I want to stay here and then be able to visit this anytime I want.
It's still pretty solid there.
Yeah, that's probably the best looking one we've seen. Oh my gosh, this is still going. We can just keep going. Now here, they would come around and continue going, but obviously these plants weren't here, but you can see some of the shrubbery has grown up a good bit. Wow, it's still like, goes straight up. Like this is a good embankment. If you had a bike, this would be where you would come and do some cool BMX tricks. The ties are still here, man. This is so cool. And I bet if we continue going, it'll take us to the settlement over at the Pioneer Hall. So right over here is where you can come into the pet area. You walk your pet over here and look, you legitimately cross the railroad. So it's just a little walking path you can take to get to where the railroad track once was. And then this is all a walking trail, and there's still pieces of the track. I mean, we are legitimately walking the Fort Wilderness Railroad right now. I never got to ride the railroad. This is the closest thing I'll ever get, but this is awesome. I'm pretty sure this tree stump wasn't here back when this was a railroad, and I'm sure all this shrubbery and overgrown woods were completely clear back then. You could probably see all kinds of different wildlife and everything back when the train was running. So the railroad would come straight through here, so the train would come, and we've seemed to have to go around this tree that's fallen. Look at these mushrooms on this tree. Absolutely incredible. We're just following the rocks, like JT said. We're literally just following these rocks. Oh, lost my hat. Following the rocks. And there's still pieces of wood from the railroad. Wow. This is so cool. And see right here is some more campsites. And the train would be coming this way and straight through. And eventually, on this walking trail, we'll make it to the settlement. Hoop-de-doo. Wow, look at that one. That is so cool, man. And this little walking trail is kind of like something you would see in like Alice in Wonderland or something. And just like the map, you can't argue with the map. Right over here is Hoop-de-doo and the settlement. Look at this. It would have been this way, and right up here, man, we can go to where the old station was. This is it.
Even out here.
Right here. So right over here is the settlement bus depot. You have Tri-Circle D Farm, Hoop-de-doo, and then where JT is standing is where the track, if you can see where I'm pointing, you can see some of the old wood from the railroad track would go straight ahead, and then look how it curves to the left. Obviously they're doing construction over here, but it curves where my finger is. It curves to the left. And in the video that I'm going to put in the description box from Retro WDW, you can see that train coming around the bend here, and then it pulls in right over here. And I'm going to show you guys where the train station and everything would have been. So basically in this video, the train was coming around the bend, and then it pulled in right here where the settlement trading post station was, and then it would continue going right down here, where at one point there was a little railroad crossing, and I believe the little thing would go down and stop traffic right over there where that stop sign is. But this is where you would get picked up after you would eat at Hoop-de-Doo or spend a day at River Country. You'd get back on the train right over here. Right across this bridge over here is where the tennis courts are, and this is where the tracks used to be on this side. So JT and I just got our minds blown because there are people kayaking back here, and we had no idea you could do that. And there's also a sign right here that says bike barn with an arrow. So the train would have been coming this way, and you can see it's still embanked on both sides for the train. It's pretty close to the campsite here. I don't see any railroad ties or anything. This has completely been overgrown with grass, but look at this turkey.
There's 2 of them.
Whoa, some friends of the wilderness. Hi, are turkeys mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
I'm gonna stay back.
Chase
Some wild turkey out here at Fort Wilderness. That's pretty crazy. You know what, driving around and trying to find the spots where the old railroad went is fun but exhausting. I recommend bringing some water and a towel or change a shirt, because I didn't, and this shirt is completely soaked. And JT, I'm sure you're hot.
Yeah, I'm soaked. This has been the week though. It's so hot down here. I'm just sweating through every shirt I own, I feel like. But
yeah.
This is worth it.
And the wind from the golf cart ride is cooling me off though. This is great. I forget how quiet it is here at the campgrounds. Like, it's so incredibly quiet. It's a beautiful thing. But to be somewhere on Disney property and not have music blasting or something happening is a rare thing. Well, you guys, I think we found a good chunk of the railroad. There's still a lot of places that I would like to visit. Unfortunately, some of those places are either hard to get to or it's just not exactly where you want to go. But I think it's time to say goodbye. But hey, if you enjoyed this episode, give me a big thumbs up. Also, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't, because it's free and it'll keep you updated with my latest video. I had a ton of fun hanging out today with Art from the Fort Wilderness podcast, as well as JT from RetroWDW.com. Check out RetroWDW.com and the Fort Wilderness podcast. I'll put the links to those sites in the description box below. And if you guys haven't seen the video that we were referring to, I'll also put the link to that video from RetroWDW.com so you guys can see Art and Linda's journey around here. I believe it was in 1978, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you would like to support my channel, please visit my Patreon page at patreon.com/worldofmicah. We're donating $1 a month. Can help fund episodes like this. Dude, I had a lot of fun hanging out today. Thanks for inviting me on the golf cart. That was definitely like a bucket list thing. I never got to ride on one of the golf carts. I'm glad we got to do it together, finding the old railroad track.
Yeah, if you like that trip with us around the Fort Wilderness Railroad, be sure to visit us, retromagic.net. We have an event coming in October. It's that weekend. We got all kinds of stuff going on, but Michael Campbell from the Carolwood Pacific Society is going to be there. That's like a mouthful to say all that. Carolwood Pacific Society, he's going to be there. We have a lot of other stuff going on too. Bob Gurr's going to be there, Tom Nabby. It's going to be a loaded day, so join us for sure at that this October, retromagic.net.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put the links to all those events and everything in the description box. But we'll see you on the next episode of World of Micah, everybody. Until then, stay weird. Goodbye. Thank you.